heartbroken, whatever, I'll come up second. No. Or you can be a champion and always find a way and figure out a way to make it happen, which is exactly what I did. And I finished the push at 36,000, my biggest push period ever, 36,111. And, he was shocked because he was $6,000 ahead of me the night before. So in less than 12 hours, I created $6,000. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that happens. Well, you plan for success. Because if you plan for failure, well, you're going to fail. So if you plan on not having demos booked for the end of a push period, well, you're not going to have demos. You're not going to have good demos. At the beginning of any push, what do? I go to my last day, like, who are the best people for me to see at the last day? On the last day. Like, I know as time decreases, intensity increases. So I know that if I put my best possible customers, and you all know who your best customers are. You all know who those ABCs, MACs, whatever letters you use in your office, you know who your best referrals are. You don't need someone to tell you, hey, this is the best customer. So I set up my best customers for my last day and for the morning of. The conference doesn't start till 9 and 11 o'clock in places. Doesn't matter where your conference is. There's always time to squeeze in one demo. Hey, Mrs. Jones, is 6 o'clock in the morning good for you, or would 7 be better? I learned this from Billy Conklin right before another push when I killed it. I called him up right before he left Prague. I'm like, Billy, I've got a lot of cocoa to sell in a short amount of time. What do I do? He's like, you do demos when you wouldn't normally do demos. I'm like, what? Yeah, people will see you. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just give them 2 crazy times and they're going to pick one of them. And I tried it out, and what do you know? Billy Conklin knew what he was talking about. It works. So you give them crazy times. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm free at 4:30 or 6 o'clock better for you. They're like, 4:30. I'm like, it's a push period, Mrs. Jones. There's no such thing as sleep. And you know what? You'll be surprised. I've had a 3 a.m. demo. It works for me. It worked for them. They bought a homemaker plus 8. So we were all happy at the end of the day. So no excuses. Find a way. It's a push period. If you think you're working hard enough, you're not. So you need to pull out all stops. You can't be making excuses. And last year between SC1 and SC2, my best friend passed away. For those of you who knew what was going on, it was really rough on me. I had a really hard push for SC1. It was a kid's push, and I didn't do a lot of demos. I did a lot of phone demos. Not phone demos, phone orders with old customers. And for SC2, I really didn't want to go out and do demos. I mean, I was super depressed. If any of you are like, oh, I don't want to continue, well, I didn't want to continue. And I had committed to something. I'll never forget at the division meeting before SC2, my region manager, Rick Castro, came over to me and he's like, hey, are you going to be able to ship for SC2? I looked at him, I'm like, I'm aviva. What does that mean? Am I going to be able to ship? He's like, well, I heard about your friend, I'm really sorry for you. I'm like, it's SC2. And I was super close with her, and I'm a really emotional person, so the combination together was not cool, but I still pulled off another 30,000 push, because that's it. Champions always find a way. You're either going to find a way to do it, or you're going to find a way to make it not happen. So let's go back to those orders with your old customers. That competition with Mike Arrieta is really what shaped it for me. I was behind by $6,000. It was Saturday night. I'm on the phone with my manager, Andrew, who's like, Aviva, you don't have a chance. He's at $30,000. He hit 30. That's it. It's over. I'm like, what do you mean it's over? And he's like, Aviva, you're not shipping $6,000. You've got one demo tonight, and you've got a demo tomorrow morning. You're going to really average $3,000 on each demo? And I'm like, uh-oh. My first demo, I sold $740. I created a second demo, canceled on me. I'm like, oh, no. And then I still had my demo the next morning with that customer that I had planned. I called her at the beginning of the push. I explained to her how she's my last appointment. I told her about my competition with Mike Arrieta. She was calling me throughout SC1. Hey, did we beat him? Did we beat him? Did we beat him? And it shaped it for me, because if you're not all having customers call you, and yeah, that's extreme, it's intense, having your customer calling you, finding out if you hit your goal, that's cool. That means I just shared my goals with her really, really well. She must have called 5, 6 times. Daniel Reyes will never forget. He's like, is that your customer again? And she just kept calling, did we beat him? Did we beat him? Did we beat him? And, it was really cool. During SC2, she bought another $2,000 from her. She bought $4,000 that morning, and I was still behind. I was still way behind with the $4,000. I was still more than $2,000 short. And I had planned it out the night before. I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. SC1 is 10 minutes away from my house. I drive, so I usually go to my office and drive other people. But you know what? I called my manager. I'm like, hey, Andrew, I'm not the driver this tomorrow. I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm going to be selling Geico over the phone. I'm taking a cab, and I'm just going to sell it to my customers on the way to the conference. I have never taken a cab before in my life. I live in New York, but I don't take cabs. I drive. When I'm in the city, I take the subway. Like, I just don't take cabs. It was, like, weird for me to be sitting in a cab, and, you know, here I was with all my orders. He was, like, making small talk with me. Oh, what do you do? I'm like, sorry, sir, here's the address. I gotta work. And I just got on the phone, and I was just calling people. And who was I calling? Well, I made a list the night before. You don't want to plan during daylight hours, just like you never want to rolo during a push period during daylight hours. When I walk into the office and I see people roloing while it's, like, phone time, I freak on them. I freak out. Ask any of my reps, what are you doing? Why are you roloing? Rolo at 11 p.m. from your bed. Don't rolo during the day. Get on the phone. You're really roloing an order. Rolo doesn't close. You know, so it's like you don't want to do the busy work during the day. So the night before this demo, I went on Vector Connect and I made a list of all my customers. It wasn't that many customers, guys. I'd only been in the business for 1 year, plus I took a whole bunch of months off. So I didn't have a ton of customers. I was a full-time student, only working 1 day a week. I had more no sales than I had sales when I first started with the company. And I don't know, may have been 100 or 200 people. But I don't think it was 200. It wasn't a lot of people. I went through and I made a list of who my best people were to call. And I made the list in from best to worst. Now, there was no worst. If they've bought $1 of Cutco from me, they're a customer. So, you know, I sold $450 to someone who had bought a garlic press from me. And that just happens. It's a push period. So, you know, you call up someone, you're like, hey, how's that garlic press? She's like, I actually don't really like it. I remember your knives really good. And I just started laughing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the garlic press either. But you're right, the knives are really good. So, you know, and I just sold her stuff over the phone. I did the demo. It wasn't like I was doing a demo with her. I had already done the demo. So, these orders were great, and they saved me during every single push. Everyone knows, you know, I do a certain amount of demos, and then I sell a certain over the phone. I came in with 10 phone orders from that car ride. 10 phone orders in one 10-minute ride. It was great. I mean, I just, like, sat in the lobby when I first got to the conference, and everyone was coming over to me. I was still on the phone with my customers, booking up, you know, filling out order forms, and it was really exciting to be able to do that. But it doesn't just happen. You have to plan for it. Plan for success. The CTO is not going to magically go right into your Vector Connect account. It's not going to happen. You need to put in the work, and the hard work really does pay off. I love the line that I just learned a few weeks ago from Mike Cassetta. You know, magic is reserved for those who don't let go. As Mike Chu is just saying now, the pop is going to come. The pop's going to come for you if you're patient and you create it. And the second part is really important, because the pop's not going to happen if you just sit back and don't do phone time. Oh, yeah, Aviva, I only sold $1,000 of Cutco this week. Great. How much phone time did you do? Yeah, the is exactly why. Oh, great, you did that on 3 orders? Congratulations, you have a nice average order. That stinks if you're not doing demos. So, right now, you can't be making excuses, because you're either going to find a reason to do something, or you're going to find a reason not to. And, right now I'm going to shift into creating and asking for some big sales, because once you're on those demos, during push periods, nothing less than $1,000 for anyone. It's a push period. That urgency has to be built in over the phone. If you have a cancel demo, which we all have, don't let it happen during a push period. Have a backup plan. Have extra people to be able to call. Book 2 people for the same time slot, 15 minutes apart, and if you have to reschedule the other, always make sure that during a push period, you're either on the phone, in your office, or on a demo. And you don't even want to be in your office that much. You want to be on the phone or on a demo. On the phone or on a demo. If you're not doing those 3 things, well, you haven't shipped 17,000 like Mike Arrieta did this week. Why is he at 17,000? Because